Emotion and relationships. Outside the classroom, we all operate in the same way. Human relationships are infinitely complex because in our substar, but the basic dynamic is rather simple. Approach or avoid. We tell people to closure or we tell them to back off. People communicate the same thing to us. So much of what happens between human beings is a result of how we communicate our emotions. And it all depends on something deep inside us, perhaps hidden from our own view, our emotional state. Throughout this book, we will discuss all the way we communicate our feelings about whomever we are dealing with. At any given moment, the subtle, lighting, fast facial expressions, body language, vocal inflections, touch, and everything else in our resonant signals. When we are expressing positive emotions and authentically, contentment, compassion, joy, we do so in a way that draws in other people, whether it's your best friend or a supermarket cashier. They can read our signals clearly and they may respond in kind, but that depends on their emotional state. People feeling emotions such as sorrow, shame, or anxiety often wish to discourage in social interactions, and those signals are also being communicated. Those people may benefit mostly from engagement with others, but too often is unlikely to happen. This is a particularly serious problem in our schools, which often reprimand children when they express a negative emotion rather than see it as a cry for help. These are the kids who are neglected, ignored, or suspended for misbehavior. When they should be given empathy, extra attention, and opportunities to build skills and meaningful relationships. Research shows that having just one caring adult can make the difference between whether a child will thrive or not. We all have a multitude of relationships with our children and our parents and significant others, but also with a plumber, the driver in the next lane, our softball teammates, our boss and a colleague, and the woman who holds the door open for us at the mall. And all these connections operate on the same basic principle. Our mood at a given moment is expressed in the signals that we send out. If we are feeling joyful and open and expansive, it will make us confident and accepting of others. If we are feeling down on ourselves, we will color how we relate to other people, or if we connect at all. We tell people what we want from them by the messages we send, whether warm and hoping for them respond in kind or off-putting, when all we want is distance. This is the challenge for many people under the autism spectrum. They have a different reading the cues and a coming up with and a feeling response, and they have difficulty sending cues and other people understand. As a result, they struggle building and maintaining relationships. We also express emotions in order to get what we want from the people in our lives. If we make a show of anger, we may not earn much empathy, but we instill fear in others and maybe remove any obstacles that we are in our way. If, on the other hand, we need cooperation and understanding, we know what emotion messages to send that will get the response we desire. People feeling compassion see greater common humility with strangers. They punish others less, are more generous and cooperative, and are willing to sacrifice for others. Research shows that high-powered individuals tend to be less responsive to the emotion of the people around them. Hmm. In one study, these individuals responded with less compassion than people with less power when listening to someone describing suffering. Does this phenomenon explain anything about our political and business leaders? Sometimes the emotions we feel send signals that elicit the opposite of a response we want and need. Picture a typical child. If he's in trouble and anxious, he may wish that his parents and teacher would reach out and offer comfort. But when those adults sense that the child is in emotional state, especially when he's not acting out, they may respond just in an opposite way because of their own emotional response to the signals of the negative mood. This dynamic rules much of the human interaction. When we need emotional support most easily when we are least likely to receive it. Didn't intervene. What was his mindset? Stay away, these kids and whip and hoonies and topping up. Was he too preoccupied with his own issues to pay attention to mine? Perhaps I was just at a loss about what to do. Either way, I suffered socially, emotionally, and academically. That's why physical sickness can be caused by the mind under emotional stress, but there is also the opposite phenomenon. Physical wellness that's fostered by positive feelings. Both kinds underscore the importance of managing our emotional lives. Our emotions are linked to physiological reaction in our brains, releasing hormones and other powerful chemicals that, in turn, affect our physical health, which has an impact on our emotional state. It's all connected. Inside our brains, hormones and other neurochemicals are being turned on and off, depending on what you are feeling at a given moment. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal (PHA) axis located in the middle brain is one of the major neuroendocrine systems that controls how we respond to stress and also regulates our emotions and moods. The HPA axis is where certain hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol originate. Researchers studying this region of the brain have found that early life exposure to mild, everyday stressors enhances our future ability to regulate emotions and confers lifelong resilience. But exposure to extreme or prolonged stress does just the opposite. It induces hyperactivity in the HPA axis and the lifelong susceptibility to stress. The difference between good stress and bad stress mainly has to do with the duration and intensity. For instance, having to prepare a compelling presentation for a client is a form of stress, but the good kind is caused by challenge of achieving a desired goal and lasts in only a short time. The ending of a game or a major event such as wedding day affects in a similarity, stress-inducing but happy. These events from them momentarily releases some stress hormones, but then it ends. Short bouts of stress can boost immunity and raise levels in cancer-fighting molecules, and in fact, lasting for the weeks after a stressful situation ends. Many of us spend hours and entire days under emotional duress until it becomes a chronic condition. Our brains are battling in a constant flow of stress hormones for which evolution has definitely not prepared us. We are suffering emotionally in those instances. Our physical health is affected too. Stress lives in your fight or flight state in which your body turns off long-term building and repair projects. There is ample scientific evidence of the long-term harm caused by the childhood emotional trauma, such as bullying. Children may experience a compromising immunity to disease, digestive tract pain and upset, headaches, poor sleep, inability to concentrate, and depression. These effects can persist into adulthood, creating physical and mental health problems long after bullying is in the past. Feeling down, pessimism, empathy, depression is linked to the low levels of serotonin and dopamine. Serotonin and dopamine, the so-called feel-good neurotransmitters. Serotonin plays a role in pain perception, which may be why people experiencing negative emotions report more severe symptoms of illness, and nearly half of patients with depression also suffer aches and pains. Negative emotional states, anxiety, anger, sadness, stress, are closely associated with unhealthy behaviors such as poor diet, smoking, excessive drinking, physical inactivity, and social isolation, many of which we find in recent study with more than 5,000 teachers from across the United States. Those are the same lifestyle factors that contribute to our most feared and widespread illnesses: heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, addiction, dementia. These conditions in turn have a devastating impact on our emotional lives, and a feedback loop turns into a downward spiral of our health, mental and physical. Ultimately, they deepen our feeling of hopelessness and despair that will ever manage to improve our moods or our health. Interestingly, we found that a positive workplace and climate acted on buffer for the deleterious effect of negative emotions on health outcomes for teachers. There's a great deal of medical research linked hostility and anger to heart disease. Okay. Men reporting the highest levels of anger were over 2.5 times more likely to suffer cardiac events such as heart attack than other men. Negative emotions have been associated with hypertension, increase in heart rate, constriction of peripheral blood vessels, unhealthy blood lipids, and the decrease in immune system function. Not only does an angry outburst cause a spike in blood pressure, but every time we recall what made us so mad, our blood pressure rises again. According to one study, the 30-minute argument with our significant other can slow our body's ability to heal by at least a day. And if you argue regularly, the delay is double. Even subtle form of anger, such as impatience, irritability, and grudginess, may damage health. You can see influence in our emotions and our physical health, class, and dire risk too. The stress associated with knowing you how to deliver a speech can double the severity of allergy symptoms in 4 to 2 days. Feeling sad makes the symptoms of illness seem more severe and cause greater discomfort. In one study, people who scored low and positive emotions in the world 3 times as likely to become sick after exposure to the virus than those who scored higher. When the latter group didn't get sick, their symptoms were less severe. But our emotions can also prompt the release of beneficial neurochemicals and hormones. Crying isn't soothing because it carries stress hormones out of our bodies. Feelings of gratitude increases oxygen levels in our tissues, speed healing, and boosts our immune system. Being in love wasn't found to raise the level of nervous growth factor, a hormone-like substance that restores the nerve system and improves memory. The effect lasted for about a year, according to the researchers. In one study, laughter caused by watching a comedy film increased the flow of beta endorphins, which enhance our mood and stimulate growth hormones, which repair our cells. Even the anticipation of laughter was found the lower levels of cortisol and adrenaline. Laughter may also reduce the risk of a heart attack. Feeling good, therefore, may encourage healthy behaviors, which in turn can promote greater emotional well-being and physical health. This suggests that after a crisis, people who have more positive feelings may be more resilient than those who experience fewer positive emotions. There's the obvious answer. Artistic work such as painting, music, literature, and professions demand and reward creativity, such as architecture, science, design, engineering, among others. Daily, each of us have many chances to creative, to act in new and thoughtful ways. It's what makes life an adventure. But there can something scary about creativity too. It represents a break with the status quo and a step into the unknown. Creative decisions, even the smallest matters, are a way of saying we think we have a better idea. When then comes the feedback from others, but even from ourselves. What if your new way doesn't work out so well? What if you made things worse, at least in somebody's eyes? Though may be not yours. What makes you think you're so creative anyway? You can see that our creative impulses and our emotions are closely intertwined. Many of us believe that in personality and intelligence alone drive our ability to be creative, or that creativity is an all or nothing gift, rather than a set of skills, and it can be improved with practice. True, some personality traits such as openness to experience are reliably related to it, but traits alone doesn't account for everything. And research confirms that creativity is only modestly associated with IQ, meaning you don't have to be a genius to be creative. This is where our emotional lives extend even beyond the personal. Creativity is lifeblood of our culture and our economy. In a poll, 1,500 corporate CEOs said that the importance of creativity was the single best indicator of the future success. Without innovation, societies stagnate and die. Creativity also includes two other factors: performance and effectiveness. Creativity can exist only in an abstract, in our minds and in nowhere else. That's just having a rich imagination. The creative process needs to be followed by a concrete action. Once we devise new strategies, we must have the confidence to put them to use. Effective performance is much a part of creativity as an initial animate an idea, but whether we take advantage of all the possibilities every time is a different matter. Safe to say, at times we all feel less creative than we'd like to be. That's because our creativity is so closely tied to our emotional state, even though the connection may not be so obvious. Again and again, in working with educators, families, and children, we wind up discussing the ubiquitous problems of stress and frustration, the despair of feeling as though we lack the power to make meaningful changes for the better. It's hard to imagine a worse feeling. For a child, it can be devastating. Children have a little control over their lives and under the best of conditions. We all go through tough times, but most of us believe that if we persevere, we can find solutions. That's another form of creativity, everyday creativity. The ability to keep discovering new answers when all the ones no longer work. What most of life is like for children and adults who can't hope even for that. This measure creativity defined as the ability to respond to a situation in ways that are novel and original. Children have become less emotionally expressive, less energetic, less talkative and verbally expressive, less less humorous, less imaginative, less unconventional, less lively and passionate, less perceptive, less often connect to seemingly irrelevant things, less synthesizing, and less likely to see things from a different angle. For what could we play and accept in partners in an educational system that often squash original thinking and paralyze students for using their imagination? When discussing creative thinking, psychologists often use the term convergent and divergent thinking. The former operates when searching for only one correct solution to a problem or only one proper answer to a question, and tries to arrive it by motioning straight ahead, linear thinking. The divergent approach moves in all directions. It assumes that there are many possible solutions and it tries to consider each, especially the most creative, unusual ones. The impulse to create seems to come naturally to the human brain. However, we must be encouraged to express it. In school, it's hard to be creative when convergent thinking. The ability to remember facts and perform well in a standardized test is more highly rewarded. To engage children and prepare them for the workforce, they must be given more opportunities and engagement to be creative. For what to happen, schools need to restructure learning so that it promotes unconventional thinking and fresh approaches and problem solution across content areas, not just in the arts. For example, more and more schools incorporate project-based learning and design thinking, a 5-stage process for solving complex problems that include 1. Defining a problem, 2. Understanding human needs involved, 3. Reframing the problem in a human-centered way, and 4. Generating a multitude of ideas, and 5. Hands-on approach in prototyping and testing. Research shows that divergent thinking results in a feeling of joy, pride, and satisfaction. A study across 5 countries with different languages found that working on a creative task leads to an increase in positive emotions and autonomy. Another study showed that creative behavior on a given day leads to more positive emotions and a sense of flourishing the next day. As with so much about emotional lives, there's a feedback loop at work. Feeling good encourages us in act creativity, which makes us feel even better. But happiness is not the single key to creative. In fact, a modest level of stress has been found in some cases to significantly improve creativity performance compared with no stress at all. Even emotions such as anger, distress can serve as motivation for creative thinking and enhance creativity. Compared with a control group, then sympathy, participants show greater originality in thinking. One explanation is that sympathy is a reaction to other people's suffering and therefore produces intrinsic motivation to generate solutions that reduce their distress. Creativity is especially important in the face of an adversity. When we are disappointed because plan A didn't work out, when we tried hard and still receive negative feedback, When someone stands in the way of a progress and even tries to prevent it, we first have to manage hurt or anger, not deny it but accept it, and then put it to good use as a motivation force. That's where creativity can come to our rescue and allow us to achieve our goal despite the obstacles. Now, do you see how complex their simple question, how do you feel, really can be? The emotional roller coaster is no smaller factor. It has an enormous influence over the most important areas of our lives. Religious leaders, poets, and playwrights have known this for centuries. Over the past few decades, the sciences have begun to catch up. Now we know better than in ancients, and also in ancients and the degree to which emotions guide everything else. That's the first step toward accepting who we truly are. What then is next step?